The rain fell like shards of broken glass that night, relentless, cold, and merciless. On a lonely roadside diner at the edge of town, the world seemed to move slower. The fluorescent light flickered above the cracked open 24 hours sign, and inside, a tired young waitress named Emily Carter wiped down empty tables, her hands trembling from exhaustion. The smell of burnt coffee filled the air, and the clock ticked louder than usual, as if mocking her with every passing second of her struggling life. Emily had learned to smile through the pain, but tonight, that smile had nearly faded away. If you believe that kindness can still change lives, that even the smallest act can light up someone's darkest night, then take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Spark. Because stories like this remind us what it truly means to be human. Emily was only 26, but hardship had aged her soul far beyond her years. Her father had passed when she was 16, leaving her mother ill and bedridden. For nearly a decade, Emily had worked herself to the bone, 2 jobs, endless shifts, and sleepless nights, all to keep a roof over their heads and her mother's medicine stocked. Every morning, she told herself things would get better. Every night, she prayed for strength to believe it. The diner was her second home, not because she loved it, but because she had nowhere else to go. The cracked leather booths and flickering lights had seen her laughter, her tears, and her resilience. Most of the customers were regulars, truck drivers, factory workers, and travelers passing through. But that night was different. That night, fate sent someone who would quietly turn Emily's world upside down. It was close to midnight when the door creaked open and a man stepped inside. He was drenched from the storm, his coat tattered, his shoes soaked. His beard was unkempt, his eyes sunken, and he looked like he hadn't eaten in days. The few customers glanced up, then quickly looked away, uninterested. Emily, however, noticed the way he moved, slowly, cautiously, as if afraid to disturb anyone. She offered him a seat by the heater, and he sat down, shivering. When she handed him a menu, he just stared at it, ashamed. I don't have enough money," he murmured. "Maybe just some hot water?" Her heart ached. She'd seen hardship before, but there was something in his voice, a mix of pride and desperation, that pierced through her exhaustion. Without hesitation, she went into the kitchen, ignoring her boss's strict policy about unpaid meals. She poured a bowl of soup, added scrambled eggs and toast, and quietly slipped a few crumpled dollars from her apron to cover the cost herself. When she placed the food before him, the man froze, disbelief written all over his face. "I can't pay you back," he whispered. Emily smiled softly. "You don't need to. Just eat before it gets cold." For a long time, he said nothing. Then he picked up his spoon and began to eat, slowly, almost reverently, as if afraid the food would vanish. Emily returned to wiping tables, pretending not to see him wipe away tears with the back of his sleeve. Something about that moment, the quiet gratitude in a stranger's eyes, stirred something deep within her. For once, she didn't feel invisible. She felt human. When he finished, he thanked her softly and left, disappearing into the rain. On the table, she found a folded napkin. Inside, written in shaky handwriting, were the words, "You didn't just feed me. You reminded me that I'm still human. Someday, I'll repay this kindness. I promise." Emily stared at it for a long moment, then tucked it into her pocket. She didn't know why, but something told her to keep it. Weeks passed. Life returned to its same rhythm of endless shifts and heavy bills. Emily's mother's condition worsened, and Emily began skipping her own meals to afford medicine. One night, overwhelmed and alone, she sat in the diner's restroom, clutching that old napkin, tears streaming down her face. It was her only reminder that maybe, somewhere, kindness still mattered. Then one afternoon, months later, everything changed. A sleek black car pulled into the diner's parking lot, a sight so out of place that even the cook looked up from the grill. Out stepped a well-dressed man in a tailored suit, his expression calm but purposeful. He walked straight to the counter where Emily stood, wiping glasses. "Are you Emily Carter?" he asked. "Yes," she replied cautiously. The man smiled, his eyes warm. You might not recognize me, he said, reaching into his coat pocket, but I never forgot you. He handed her a small folded napkin, the same one she'd received months ago. Her hands trembled. It's you. He nodded. My name is Daniel Morgan. Months ago, you gave me a meal when I couldn't afford one. I'd lost everything, my company, my home, my dignity. That night, I was ready to give up. But your kindness reminded me that people still care. That I still mattered. It gave me the courage to try again. Emily stood speechless as Daniel explained how he'd restarted his life. With renewed determination, he'd rebuilt his small tech idea into a thriving company. I came back to find you, he said softly. Because you deserve the same hope you gave me. He handed her an envelope. Inside was a check, a staggering amount that could pay off every debt she'd ever had and more. Emily gasped, shaking her head. I can't take this, she whispered. I just did what anyone would do. No, Daniel said gently, you did what most wouldn't. You gave when you had nothing to spare. This isn't charity. It's gratitude. Tears filled her eyes. Around them, the diner had gone silent. Even the cook peeked out, wide-eyed. Emily covered her mouth, unable to speak. The story spread like wildfire. A customer who'd witnessed the reunion recorded a short video and shared it online. Within hours, millions of people watched the clip of the waitress hugging the man she once fed in secret. News outlets called it the diner miracle. Strangers flooded the diner, not for the food, but to meet the young woman whose quiet act of compassion changed a life. But Emily didn't let the attention consume her. She kept working at the diner, though she now owned it, thanks to Daniel's help. She remodeled it, gave it new life, and started something she called the Kindness Meal Program. Anyone hungry could eat free, no questions asked. Donations from across the world poured in. Truckers left $100 tips. Families mailed thank you cards. The little diner at the edge of town became a beacon of kindness. Emily used part of her new fortune to fund her mother's care and the rest to build a small charity foundation with Daniel. Together, they helped others who had fallen on hard times, offering meals, housing support, and job opportunities. She often said, I don't help people because I expect something back. I help because once, someone might need a reason to keep believing. Years passed, but Emily never forgot that rainy night. She still kept the napkin, now framed behind the diner counter, as a reminder of how one small act can echo far beyond what we see. Daniel visited often, not as a benefactor, but as a friend. The bond between them remained unspoken yet unbreakable, rooted in that shared moment of humanity. Reporters came and went, documentaries were filmed, and social media called her the waitress who restored faith in humanity. But Emily never saw herself as a hero. When asked how it felt to inspire millions, she simply said, I didn't do it to be noticed. I did it because kindness should never depend on what we get in return. Months later, one rainy evening, much like the one when it all began, Emily sat by the diner window, watching raindrops race down the glass. Outside, the open 24 hours sign glowed softly in the mist. A young boy, about 10, hesitated near the door, drenched, clutching a backpack. Emily stood up, walked over, and smiled. You look cold, she said warmly. Come in. Let's get you something to eat. And just like that, the circle continued, kindness passed from one heart to another, quietly rewriting stories of despair into hope. So if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that one act of kindness can change everything, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Spark. Let's fill the world with stories that prove kindness is never wasted. Before you go, I have one special request. Speech balloon comment, kindness lives on if you believe that compassion still has the power to change the world. Because somewhere, another Emily is still working late, and another Daniel is walking in from the rain, and maybe, just maybe, your kindness will be the spark that saves them.